when it became a hit, I was amazed. So I used to start to read. I used to ask them to send me some of the fan mail because I wanted to see, and it was really weird because you would get a letter on beautifully engraved stationery from a woman writing to Uncle Barnabas, a very elegant handwriting, and from an address in, you know, a very upper scale community. And she would write, "I just want you to know how excited I am when I watch you. I wish you were here to sink your teeth into my neck." It was pretty bizarre. And we used to have to drag poor Jonathan Frid to some of these promotion things. If a new station became affiliated with ABC, they wanted Jonathan Frid. And he was this frail little guy who came from the Yale Drama School. And, you know, to him, acting was acting, but he was this scared little guy. He used to be sitting in the limousine afraid to get out because he'd see these women screaming, waiting for him, and he was scared to death. And if there was ever an unlikely matinee idol, it was certainly Jonathan Frid. He was, you know, but it was bizarre. It was really bizarre. Some of my friends said to me, "Come on, you know, it's just, you know, it's odd of you to sit there and read the fan mail that's coming to Dark Shadow." I said, "I'm just getting a feeling for the audience." But it was bizarre. There was a whole part of American womanhood that was clearly not getting what they wanted in their relationships, and that this was a kind of fantasy for them. You know, all those books where you had the strong guy standing on it, and there was the woman with the torn bodice, and, you know, they were the same story over and over and over again. But they had this huge audience, and, you know, it said to me that it's not always boy meets girl. I remember that one letter. I think it was from a suburb of Michigan. It was of Detroit, a very upscale. I remember that, and I thought, a woman is sitting there, clearly an educated woman. It was a very articulate letter, beautifully written, very expensive stationery, and sitting and writing this to Jonathan Frid. We were aware that teenagers and young people were watching it. It was, ABC always had an easier time attracting them. But the women, we had women watching that show. That was the core. That's why we were able to sell it for high-priced advertisers, because you can't just live on teenagers and kids. But we knew that of all the daytime serials that were on the air, the daytime dramas, it had the largest audience for its rating size of teenagers and kids. At ABC, for us, we didn't have to win the time slot. I mean, we just had to show up and be there. But also, advertisers liked it because it was so known, and it was like cool to be on Dark Shadows, and it was talked about, and maybe then their commercials would be talked about. So I think we got credit for more of an audience than we had. It was an original. I think that's why any programming remains, because it's an original. That's why. I think because the television shows that made an impact and lasted were all originals. The rip-offs are not remembered. Even if they got ratings for a short period of time, it had to be an original. That's true of Fantasy Island. It was true of Dark Shadows. The dating game is still on the air, and so is the Newlywed Game. And now there are all kinds of variations on the dating game. Try a different guy, try a different girl. But it's like with Charlie's Angels. Charlie's Angels became a huge hit. And the next year, everyone figured out the reason it's a huge hit is because there were 3 girls. So there were 4 pilots made with 3 girls. That was our secret. We had chosen the number 3. And of course, one of them got on the air and failed, and the other 2 or 3 never even got on the air. But it's the originals that last. And Dark Shadows, Dan Curtis had an idea. Gothic novels had been out forever, but nobody thought of doing one as a daytime drama, and no one had the guts to push the envelope the way Dan did.